And what do I need to remember? Record my meeting. So welcome everyone. It's Tuesday night, almost halfway through the week, which could be a bit scary if you haven't quite got to where you were hoping to be this week yet. But anyway, for the next 20 or 25 minutes, just kick back, put your feet up, grab a cuppa, grab a glass of vino maybe, and let's have a bit of a chat about why habit formation is critical to the success of your business and the consistency that you show up for in your business. So let me just get up. And that's not what I wanted to show you. This is what I wanted to show you. One day I am actually going to get this perfect. I'll get the techie side done and the slides will come up perfectly and the share will be perfect. And I will remember to record, but you know what? Done is better than perfect. So here we are. So as I said, tonight we're just going to chat a little bit about why habit formation is critical for consistency and growth in your business. So let's just start with looking at a concept of goals versus system. So do you ever get the feeling sometimes that we get really obsessed with the goal that we're aiming for, and we actually forget about the concept that it's the system we follow that can be just as, if not more, important? Now, prevailing wisdom claims that the best way to achieve what we want in life, like getting into better shape, building a successful business, relaxing more and worrying less, spending more time with friends and family, is to set specific, actionable goals. But think about this. What if the results that you actually achieve have very little to do with the goals that you set and nearly everything to do with the systems that you follow? So to try and explain that for you, that's what I've got on the bullet points on the slide. So if you're a coach, then your goal might be to win a championship, but the system, your system, is the way that you recruit your players, the way you manage your assistant coaches, and the way you conduct the practice sessions. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, like most of us are, your goal might be to build $1 million business. And that's an awesome goal. But your system is how you test out your product ideas, how you hire your employees or your team, how you run marketing campaigns, how you set up your social media strategies, all of those sort of things. And if you're a musician, now your goal might be to play a new piece, but your system is how often you practice, how you break down and tackle the difficult measures, and your method for receiving feedback from your instructor. So I hope that by giving you some of those examples, you can actually see the clear difference between what is a goal and what is the system that's going to help you get to the goal. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have goals, because goals are necessary, but they shouldn't be seen in isolation. They should be seen as part of the equation for success. So sometimes I think we get so obsessed with the outcome, which is the goal, that we actually overlook the repetitions that we need to get there. Now, the repetitions are the system. And we all have goals that are important to us. And in the planning process that we work through with my team and my clients, that is all around starting off with, annual goals and bringing them right back down to daily tasks. So goals are super important, but is it our drive to achieve a certain outcome that makes us better, or is it something else entirely? Now, I'm just going to share a little story with you that I think might help amplify that last statement a little bit better. So this comes from a book called Art and Fear, which is an audiobook by David Bales and Ted Orland. And they share a story about a photography teacher. And when you listen to this and see the outcomes, this story might just help reframe the way that you think about setting goals, making progress, and then becoming better at the things that are important to you, which I'm sure for most of us is building and growing our business. Now, in this story, on the first day of class, Jerry Olsman, I'm not even sure if I've pronounced that name correctly, a professor at the University of film photography students into two groups. Now, everyone on the left side of the classroom would be in the quantity group. So they would be graded for the semester solely on the actual amount of work they produced. So on the final day of class, he would tally the number of photos that the student had submitted, and 100 photos would rate an A, 90 photos a B, 80 photos a C, and so on. Now, on the other side of the room, on the right-hand side of the room, he created the quality group. Now, in this group, the students would be graded only on the excellence of their work. So they would only need to produce one photo during the semester, but to get an A, it had to be a nearly perfect image. Now, as you can see on the slide, and also he was quite surprised at the end of the semester to find that all the very best photos were produced by the quantity group. Now think about that. During the semester, the students in the quantity group were busy taking photos, experimenting with composition and lighting, testing out various methods in the darkroom, and learning from their mistakes. Now, what about the other group, the quality group? Now, what he found was that they sat around speculating about perfection, and in the end, they had very little to show except some unverified theories and hypotheses, and in most cases, one mediocre photo. So as you can see on the slide there, I've put that the best work came. So what does all that mean? So it means that it's easy to get bogged down trying to find the optimal plan for change, the fastest way to lose weight, the best program to build muscle, the perfect idea for a side hustle. And we can get so bogged down and so focused on figuring out the best approach that we actually never get around to taking action. Now, is that resonating for any of you who are watching this? And if you are watching, please just do #replay and let me know what you think. So where do we go from here? So it's not just in the art studios where repetitions matter. Whenever you put in consistent work and learn from your mistakes, that's when you make progress. And it works the same way in almost any area of your life or any goal that you want to achieve. So again, using art as the example, if you want to be a great photographer, you could go on a quest to take that one perfect photo each day, or you could take 100 photos per day, learn from your mistakes and really hone your craft. Or you could be like me when I take photos on my phone, sometimes accidentally without even knowing how I've done it. I do actually take a really stunning photo, but then I don't actually know how I did it. So if we looked at if your goal is to be stronger, for strength. So if you want to be stronger, you could analyze every movement and every phase of your technique until you're actually blue in the face. Or you could get under the bar, learn from your mistakes, and focus on simply doing more reps. Same in business. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you could scheme and you could think and you could try to plan out the absolute perfect business idea. Or you could try to get one customer, learn from that, learn from any mistakes you make, and experiment with new ideas until something comes really easily for you. So it's not the quest to achieve that one perfect goal that makes you better. It is the skills you develop from doing a volume of work. So in other words, when you think about your goals, don't just focus on the outcome you want. Focus on the repetitions that will get you to the outcome that you want. Focus on the piles of work that come before success. Focus on the hundreds of photographs that come before the masterpiece. That we all think that there's a shortcut, or you can just go into business and be an overnight success. And obviously there is the rare exception to that case where it does happen. But for most of it's the repetition and the goals that'll get us there. So you need to put in your reps. And when you start looking at your goals this way, you start to see that actually setting up a system for putting your reps in can be more important than actually choosing the goal. Now, everyone wants to make progress. We all do, but there's really only one way to do that, and that's to put in the reps, or to put it another way, put in the hard yards. So think of it this way. The goal is just an event, and it's actually something you can't totally control or predict, but the reps are what can make the event happen. So if you ignore the outcomes, so the goal's there, but you're not focused on it, and you focus only on doing the repetitions, get my mouth working properly, you'll still get the results. But if you ignore the goals and build the habits instead, the outcomes will be there anyway. It's sort of like, when you just get so focused on, just the doing of stuff, and then all of a sudden you look up and you realize, like, you're halfway through a project, or you're halfway through to your goal, but you've been so engrossed in the doing, not the end, that you haven't realized exactly how far you've come. So what are some of the strategies that can multiply and enhance your ability to take the right action on a consistent basis? Now, the first one of these behavior multipliers is rapid feedback. Now, as Seth Godin says, the best way to change long-term behavior is with short-term feedback. The more immediate the feedback that you get, the quicker you can make adjustments to your behavior. So, what's an example that can help explain this concept? So, imagine if you want to improve your posture, she says, sitting up straight. That's a hard thing to do because typically the only feedback you get on posture is if someone tells you that you're slouching, or if you see yourself in the mirror, or like me just now, see yourself on screen on Zoom. But that's actually can be slow and inconsistent feedback. So one way to remedy that is stand in an upright position with good posture, and you place a piece of tape across your shoulders. So then if you slouch, like as you slouch like that, the tape will pull just enough on your clothes so that you notice the change. Now, what this does is gives you immediate feedback whenever there's a change in posture. And it means that it's much easier to maintain a good posture throughout the day, because every time you move into the wrong position, you get reminded that you should be sitting up straight. So what this does is when you're trying to form a new habit, the most important thing is awareness. If you're not aware of your habits, how can you expect to change them? So this is why feedback is so important, and faster feedback leads to faster results, surprisingly. And then the second behavior multiplier is simplicity. Now, what we mean by that is, the best productivity strategy is just to eliminate the things that derail your productivity. If you can live a life with fewer distractions, it becomes much, much easier to take effective action. Now, I know in a perfect world, it's easier to do that. And sometimes life gets in the way. But if you are aiming to eliminate distractions, then at least if you can eliminate some of them, you will make things a little bit simpler for you. And this will help to the behavior multiplier and help with your productivity. So this kind of also relates to the Pareto principle, which is often called the 80-20 rule. And it's a commonly shared idea that 80% of the results in any given project, outcome, endeavor, whatever you're talking about, actually comes from 20% of the work. So for argument's sake, 80% of your revenue generally comes from the best 20% of your clients. Now, most of the time people bring up this rule as a way to point out that you really should only focus on that top 20%. Put all your energy into the things that give you the biggest benefit is a catch cry. Now, this is excellent advice, but sometimes what we can forget, though, is even if you know what your top 20% is, within that top 20%, you still need to avoid wasting time doing that 80% of the remaining tasks. So, we all have those things that seem like really, really urgent, but they're actually not that important. Or what's the other one? The squeaky wheel gets the most attention, that sort of thing that can distract you from focusing on that top 20. And for many cases, and I'm guilty of this myself, not all the time, but when you decide to focus on your top 20 or your top 3 tasks of the day or whatever, the danger is that you end up doing the 7th most important thing before the other ones, because sometimes you don't like doing the other ones, or the 7th most important thing is the one that you actually enjoy. So my suggestion to you would be, don't just identify the 20% of strategies that are most effective. If at all possible, eliminate the 80% of strategies that are wasteful. Because when you take the distractions away, it actually becomes much easier to stay focused. Now, what's the third behavior multiplier? And that is environment. Now, environment for consistency and habit formations can be the greatest success hack there is. Now, if you put yourself in an environment that nudges you toward the right decision, and if you surround yourself with people who make your new behavior seem normal, then you will find that success is almost an afterthought. It just kind of happens. So when you think about it, the world around us really does shape our behavior. So consider at home, for example, there are many cues built into your home, probably hundreds or thousands, that will shape your behavior in small ways. So think about this. Is there food left sitting on the counter? If there is, you're probably more likely to pick it up and eat it. Do your couches and chairs face the television? Then you're more likely to sit down and turn it on. I have a partner like that who it's almost like this automatic reaction. As you sit on the couch, you grab the remote and flick the on switch because you just want to see what's happening, or you might check the news. Lovely. Not that I'm saying I don't like watching television, but sometimes I just, that auto, like, click it on and, there's that noise from the TV that you really didn't want to hear just now. But the flip side of those negative things mean that your environment can work in the other way as well. So if you want to be more likely to get up and go for a walk or a run tomorrow morning, you put your running shoes and your clothes and everything you need laid out the night before. Or I have heard of some people who actually sleep in their exercise gear, but that's probably perhaps a tad too far for me anyway. And the other thing is, like, do you actually work where you're surrounded by healthy and fit people? If you do, or if you spend a lot of time in an environment with healthy and fit people, you're more likely to see exercise and activity as a normal way of life. So when you think about it, every environment that you're in promotes some sort of behaviors and prevents others. So the key for you to think about is to be in an environment that supports the results that you want to achieve. So the people and places that fill our days for us, there's cues, there's triggers, and things that can make your habits easier to build or harder to follow and harder to stop doing. So think about it this way. Are you fighting your environment, or does your environment make your new behavior easier or even effortless? Now, what's the fourth behavior multiplier? That's ability. So if your skills in a particular area are better than normal, or better than others, or better than average, however you want to phrase it, then making sustained progress will actually be easier for you. For example, if you can already do 100 push-ups in a row, which is way beyond my comprehension, then developing a habit of doing 10 push-ups a day seems relatively easy. But if your maximum, like me, is 10 push-ups in a row, then if you want to build a habit of doing 10 push-ups per day, then that's going to be a lot harder to be consistent at and to really develop it as a habit. So as I said before, the goal is just an event, something you can't totally control or predict, but it's the repetitions that make the event happen. Just let that one sit for a moment. Now, you're probably wondering, why on earth is she showing us a picture of a gorilla and her brand new baby? Well, in my Foundations of Success workshop and program, we actually start out with a big, hairy, audacious goal, which is either 5 or 10 years away, depending on you or your business. Now, in the picture, this is represented by the mum, who's big and hairy. And then in our planning process, we work through where we have that great big hairy audacious goal at the top. Then we come up with our annual priorities that are going to move us closer to that big hairy audacious goal. And then we break those annual priorities down to quarterly goals, then down to weekly goals. Then each day from the weekly goals, there are the 3 key tasks that you work on each day that link directly to the weekly goals. And this is the brand new baby. This is the little tasks that we're going to do every day. So we start with this great big goal, and then we break it right down to the smallest component, which are the repetitions that are needed every day. So every day we are doing 3 tasks that are totally aligned with our weekly, quarterly, and annual goals, which is all in alignment with our big, hairy, audacious goal. And this then becomes the system that creates the reps that you need to get to the outcome that you're aiming for. And that's it in a nutshell. It's not complicated. And for me, I found that this structure and the simplicity of creating this process and a way to consistently do my reps every day, and I'll put my hand up and say, not perfect, don't do them every single day of every single week, but I'm guessing probably 95% of the time. And what that is giving me is a solid foundation, and it is keeping me moving forward and taking action in my business. Now, if you'd like to find out more about how you can actually implement the exact same system in your business, and you can build consistency and you can build growth, comment below the video or direct message me, and let's have a 30-minute business health check where we just cut right to the chase and figure out exactly what strategy you will need to do so that you can get yourself doing your repetitions every day and moving forward towards your goals. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. This will be our regular Tuesday night catch-up. Now, I have some different ideas and topics in mind that all fit within my formula for success. However, if there's something in particular that you are struggling with that you would like us to spend a session on, please feel free to reach out to me, because I am always happy to put together something that I know is going to directly benefit you. And having said that, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.